At noon, I'll see you at 4.
Next stop, Sherry.
Such a phenomenal day for sports fans in the city. Cassie Carlson is joining us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's like a holiday in Chicago. It's opening day, so it's beautiful right now. Temperatures dropping. Hopefully the Cubs will get the game in at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
But it's the start of something new, both on the north side and the south side. Cubs with very high expectations this season. Win the NL Central, potentially World Series conversations could be happening. It's just really fun. And the White Sox, you just want to see progress. So you're looking at Wrigley Field right now, which obviously is a buzz in Wrigleyville. I'm sure plenty of people called out of work sick today to get to this game at 1:20. Yeah, and they're enjoying baseball season being back in this great city.
Phenomenal time. So much energy in the city right now. And of course, as you mentioned, the Sox. Look, the Cubs at least get to start things at home. I think there's energy either way. A home opener to start your season is just like, yes.
Electric.
Yes.
And you love it too because, again, the weather plays a part in this. I remember I was talking to Tina Wynn. She's out there at the game, and she was like, what do you think I should wear? I'm like, bring your parka, because it is always, it might be 75 degrees in Chicago, but it's going to feel like 30. And with that wind blowing, it is so frigid out there. But it is exciting, and especially when you have the Cubs, and a lot of the talk around the Cubs, or especially early on in the season, is going to be about expectations because they are favorites to win the NL Central. They bring in someone like Alex Bregman this offseason, pay him big money, and then they extend on this roster and this talent, knowing that they have what it takes inside the clubhouse to make a run this season, and that's built off what they did last year in the postseason, making it back to the playoffs, hopefully doing the same again this year. And so you feel like you look at this roster and there's a ton of depth, and if they can stay healthy, there's a lot of hope around them.
There was so much magic last season for sure for the Cubs. Let's talk a little bit about the White Sox. Obviously, for anyhow your season ended, any way your season ended, you're hoping that the start of a new one starts on a high note. We have a live picture to Milwaukee, and let's talk a little bit about the mentality for the Cubs going into this season, for the Sox.
Yeah, for the White Sox, they're very young, and so I think there is still a lot of hope that you're going to see some progress from some of these young players like Chase Mydroth, Edgar Kara, Miguel Vargas. You have Colson Montgomery. You have guys who are in the minor leagues right now that you're hoping to see get called up at some point in the season, and a lot of those are going to be hopefully pitchers in the rotation by the end of the year. And so while the Sox won just 60 games, they've had 3 straight 100-loss seasons. I think with Will Venable and everything we've heard about just the energy inside the clubhouse and what they're doing to try and change the culture in there, is that people are starting to believe that it's actually working. And a lot of that was getting new pieces inside there and changing the roster a little bit and having new faces, having young faces. And I think from what we saw in the middle of last season towards the end of the year is we saw a lot of those young guys get called up and then take advantage of their opportunity. And so I think it's going to be a lot of the same looking for that this year. I don't think anyone's expecting them to go out and win like 80 games, but just looking for like minuscule improvement at certain areas of the game, I think would be progress for the White Sox.
I think the fans would appreciate it for sure.
Yes. I mean, there's excitement though. Like Munetaka Murakami, he's the Japan slugger, and it's like he's going to bring a lot of people to the south side to see him just play.
They've changed some of the food.
They always have good food.
Yeah,
they always have good food.
They're offering some things that really harken back to Japan now.
They do. So they're definitely playing into it, and I think that as the season goes on, hopefully you see growth from certain players. Guys will get called up like Braden Montgomery, and people will want to go out and see him, and then hopefully it results in some wins.
Well, we saw even with the Bears a change in mentality, a change in that belief can sometimes change things in the actual play.
Well, one of the cool things too, I think it probably more refers to the Cubs, is like you see the intersection between a lot of these teams. Like we saw Pete Crow Armstrong and Caleb Williams become really good friends. They're out
like
there
seen
supporting
everywhere.
each other. Include Connor Bedard in that conversation, Modest Buzelis in that conversation. To see all these young stars that are in the city and like support one another has been really interesting and really cool. And I think we'll continue to see that amongst a lot of these teams. And success in this city, like like, we all know that Chicago is a sports town.
Absolutely.
But it's also a Cubs town. It's a Sox town. It just craves when their teams are good.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, especially with the Cubs, hopeful to make the playoffs and make a run, we'll see that and feel that energy again.
We shall see. Definitely. Look at all those
I
folks
know.
out there. And they were there early in the morning.
Yeah.
Some of the bars open up super early
I don't
today.
blame them. I mean, this is a profitable day for all involved. If you're on Clark and Addison or anywhere nearby, again, it's like a national holiday. I was, it's funny because they're hosting the NFL draft in Pittsburgh this year, and they're shutting down Pittsburgh public schools for 3 days. And I'm like, that would be a really good idea, maybe in Chicago.
It makes sense.
Just make it a holiday.
Yeah.
Like, don't come
so
into
that people
work.
don't have to
don't go
be
to
sick,
school. Yeah, don't waste the sick day. It's such a fun time
Yeah.
in this city, and you can really feel the buzz.
Okay, so we said it's a sports town.
Yeah.
So obviously the most important thing to talk about today was baseball because it's opening day. But we're also getting ready to see more basketball here in the city.
I know, it's going to be exciting. And I'm more so focused on tonight because it's a Sweet 16 down in Houston with Illinois and Houston. And I think that could be the best game in the Sweet 16. Definitely going to be the Illini's toughest test on their way to making the Final Four for the first time. And hopefully it would be 21 years. Last time they made it to the Final Four, 2005. And so you look at that matchup. It's a late tip-off in Houston, playing Houston. You were just mentioning how that's going to be tough because Houston has home court advantage. But I loved what Brad Underwood had to say. He said he got his start coaching JUCO basketball, and they used to drive like 16 passenger vans. He said he would crawl to get to a basketball game. And if you were to tell him back then that he would be coaching in the Sweet 16 at a Big Ten school, like, he wouldn't even believe you.
Yeah.
And so everyone who has talked about there being home court advantage has also said that Illini fans travel really, really well. But this is best, most efficient offense of the country going up against best, most efficient defense of the country. There's 2 guards in Keaton Wagler. He is the Big Ten Freshman of the Year.
He's been amazing.
He's been incredible. Everyone wants to see how he's going to look on his biggest stage yet before he is going to be a one and done, getting ready to be a lottery pick in the NBA draft. And then everyone's also wondering if Illinois' defense is going to show up. So it's going to be a fun test, a late tip-off, but I know I'll be tuned in.
Yeah, tuned in for that tonight, and then the UC will be rocking for the weekend.
It's going to be rocking for the weekend. Michigan plays there tomorrow. Especially expect a lot of Michigan fans to show up at the United Center. I'm actually going to that game tomorrow, and I was telling someone in our newsroom, I was like, okay, so obviously I can't root for Michigan because I went to Illinois, but I'll know the results of the Illinois game before I go to that game to watch it. So it's just a cool, like, there's nothing that beats March Madness and the atmosphere. And so Michigan is a 1 seed, and we'll see how many Big Ten teams will represent.
And that's what I was about to ask you next. That was one thing that came up in our morning meeting today, was just how much this year's March Madness puts a spotlight on the Big Ten. I mean, we know it's not 10 anymore, but still, on the Big Ten.
Well, it's a changing of all of college basketball because it was the conversation going into the tournament that Cinderella teams probably won't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And you could look at Nebraska and Iowa, a Sweet 16 matchup, and that's
That
a
game was
lower
crazy.
seed. But I also think, like, when you talk about teams and the conferences that they play in, being in the Big Ten and having that experience night in and night out, like, that is one of the toughest conferences. I would say it's the toughest. Probably depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
And
Somebody
their
in the
biases.
SEC is like, no, it's
way,
not.
the Big 12, no way. But I think, it just goes to show that it's just a different era with NIL. And it's why a lot of these players are also staying in school and transferring to different schools because they make more money in college now than they would if they were to leave early and go through the draft.
It is the craziest thing to watch these games, and you always hear the commentators talk about what other schools the players have played for. And even if you're trying to track it, like, oh, I think I remember seeing this person over there last year, and oh, now they're here this year. I mean, sometimes 2 to 3 schools.
It was actually a cool story for the Illini's first round matchup against Penn. Penn had a player, TJ Power, that everyone was talking about because he dropped like 46 points in the Ivy League tournament championship game. And he was a former 5-star recruit, went to Duke, left Duke, went to, I think, Virginia, left Virginia, then goes to Penn.
It
and
is
so
wild.
to have an Ivy League school with a former 5-star recruit, and you know that he's making a lot of money, it's just one of those interesting things. Yeah, it's become like free agency in the NFL. has become year-round for these college coaches, which is why you also see a lot of them not wanting to get into it because it's just different. They have general managers, they're managing transfer portal, they're managing money. Like, it's just a totally different landscape.
While you're trying to manage your season.
Exactly. They got a lot of people around them too, but it's managing personalities too, because when you make money, obviously personalities change.
Yeah, that's a part of it too. Yeah, it's just a really interesting time. So yeah, we have basketball going on, we have baseball going on right now. Still a lot of people wondering what the football decisions will be made in Springfield now that we have something on the table in Indiana.
Yeah.
Just a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. We are heading to the NFL owners meetings next week that runs Sunday through Wednesday down in Arizona. And so Kevin Warren and George McCaskey will be there, and they will be all the buzz, getting to know a little bit more about what they're thinking about the stadium, deadlines that they have. We haven't heard from either of them about Hammond, Indiana since that all happened about a month and a half ago. So that will definitely be a topic of conversation, along with Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, because they're less than a month away from the NFL draft now. So what are they working on behind the scenes to get ready for that and add some more pieces to their roster?
Yeah, because last year going into the draft, very different conversations than this year going into the draft.
Well, they've had a top 10 pick like the last 3 or 4 years, and so now picking at 25th overall in the first round, you just don't know who's going to be available there. And Ryan Poles keeps talking about following his draft board, which has yellow tags all around it, and drafting best player available, which they believe they did last year when they drafted wide receiver Luther Burden in the second round, because they just didn't think he was going to be there, and we saw him produce. It also allowed them to trade away DJ Moore because they had that in there. But I think after free agency, you look and there's still so many holes on this roster that they need to fill. So edge rusher is the one that comes to mind first. They need to add someone opposite of Montez Sweat, find an edge rusher that they can draft and develop, because they obviously didn't get Max Crosby.
Right.
My opinion was they made calls. I don't know if they were ever truly that interested because of the high asking price and knowing that they're going to have to pay a ton of young players in a few years. You could look at safety. They need to bring in a safety. Yes, they brought one in Kobe Bryant in free agency, but they lost Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, so you need another safety back there, left tackle potentially, center potentially, cornerback, there's defensive tackle. There's still a lot of holes on the roster, and so when everyone talks about the roster and what it looks like right now, I'm like, it's not a complete process. They still have to go through the draft, which is a huge part of it. They have 4 picks in the top 90.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So what we're saying is that there's no off season for our sports team.
It's always fun.
For sure.
It's actually the best when all the seasons like intersect. You have football off season, which is 24/7. You have opening day in baseball, which is exciting in Chicago. You have March Madness. Like, what more can you ask for as a sports fan?
It's la 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 time right now. Shangri-La, sports Shangri-La for all of us here in the city. Thank you so much for helping us kick off the show today. Opening day for baseball, everybody. Look at all those folks out there at Wrigley Field. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back, and I'll set you up for where we're going for here in the 1 o'clock hour. right, 1:15, everybody. More great conversations to come here on this show. So let's go over some of the other things that we have lined up for you in this hour, this first hour that we have here together. Fans are celebrating 20 years of Disney's Hannah Montana. Does that age any of us at all? Airbnb is opening the doors to her Malibu beach house, inviting guests to step inside her home and even inside her famous closet to discover the legendary dreams that were built there. So we're going to be talking to them about this exciting time for them and the big opportunity that fans will have for the first time ever. Also, getting some legal input on a jury finding that Meta and YouTube were negligent in the design or operation of their social media platforms. You really have to wonder what comes next now that we're starting to see these massive companies take these blows. So we'll talk about what changes these decisions could spark. But first here, with policies advancing across the country, advocates are pushing for legislation to enable affordable plug-in solar access in Illinois. And I'm going to talk right now to one of those advocates of a new campaign to open up plug-in solar to every household in our state. Kavi Chintam of Vote Solar is joining me now. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Tell me a little bit about the overall campaign. Tell us about the purpose and how it's being received.
Sure. So right now, the solar you might typically think of in a household is on a roof. It's a really big system. You have to do what's called interconnecting to the grid so that utilities like ComEd or Ameren know that you are producing that electricity and it can go back to the grid. Those are really expensive and important systems, but they're not super accessible to people like me, who I'm a renter. I don't have access to my roof. My mom, she has a balcony, but she can't get solar on her roof because she also rents in the suburbs. So plug-in solar offers a way for folks who have traditionally been unfortunately left out of the clean energy transition to have solar panels on a balcony or a patio or a yard and shave off just part of their electricity bill each month. These panels just plug directly into your wall. It can also be connected to a battery, and it can allow you to, again, shave off part of your monthly bill in a way that is super easy, doesn't require any complicated installation, and can end up in saving, especially as our electricity bills continue to go up.
Yeah, I mean, what would approximately, what would the savings be for maybe you or even for your mom?
Yeah, so we're seeing through early analysis, I'm seeing savings of over $100 a year. So about $10 to $15 a month. And that is for the smallest system. So 391 watt panels, which would be like a single solar panel. However, the legislation does allow for up to 1,200 watts to be connected. So that would be about 3 or 4 solar panels if you have the space for it in your yard, for example. And that can obviously really multiply the savings that you're getting. So that could go well into the $200, $300, $400 range, depending on how many panels you have, depending on how much sun you get, if you have a battery or not. All of those factors come into play when determining the savings.
Tell me how, and I'm going to say something that's a little, how'd you get so plugged in on this? I mean, how did you learn all of this?
Yeah, so I work at Vote Solar, as you said. We're a national nonprofit, really looking through legislation and regulation to make solar more accessible and affordable for people around the country, especially when it comes to things like rooftop solar. But now this plug-in solar technology, it's super popular in Europe. Like almost every, this is an exaggeration, but a bunch of households in Germany have this. There's so many balconies in Europe overall as a continent that folks, it's just a common sense solution for them. And then a couple of years ago, Utah actually was the first state in the US to pass a law to enable plug-in solar to be easier to install and not go through the complicated processes, like I said earlier, that rooftop solar needs. So at Vote Solar, we have campaigns across the country going to get plug-in solar be something that people in households in every state hopefully are able to install. So Illinois is just another one of those states looking at it. I think we can be another leader in that. Illinois has a long history of being at the forefront of making clean energy more accessible, more affordable, just more of a thing in the state. So I believe Illinois can definitely lead in that as well for plug-in solar.
Very interesting that you mentioned Utah, because of course people would never put like Utah and Illinois in the same category in terms of like their politics, if you will. But you mentioned the fact that, yeah, I mean, in Illinois, there has been a lot of very progressive legislation when it comes to the environment. So why do you think you're still fighting this aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think the technology is just new. So there are a lot of questions around like safety, understandably, but the important thing to consider with that is that these systems are equivalent or less than the power draw of a typical blender. At the high end, it's less than the power draw of a typical hair dryer. So they're small, but just with any new technology, there are different stakeholders that have different questions about it. And to your point about Utah, the bill had bipartisan support there, and that's largely because of this bill crisis we're seeing in the country, where families are having a lot of struggle just paying their utility bills every month and having to, forego medication or groceries or whatever just to keep the lights on. So it doesn't matter what the politics are in a certain state. It's important that families are able to afford things, and plug-in solar is a way, despite what a politician might feel about clean energy, it is very much a way for people to save money. So I think that really takes the political part of clean energy out of it. And when you think of it as just like a way for folks to save money and a way for things to be more affordable. So I think because it's a new technology, that there are a lot of conversations across the country on how we can make sure that these things are safe. And in our legislation and other legislation in other states, we require that these systems are certified by national standards so that they are safe. Because technically right now, someone could go on Amazon and order a system and plug it in immediately, but that might not be a certified system, and that could cause a fire or something. So making sure in law that we have safety standards is extremely important, so that it's not only helping people save money, but it's also making sure that people are safe in their homes.
Yeah, very interesting stuff and really good points there. When you note a bipartisan effort in some other places, who's supporting you all here in Illinois, supporting your mission, supporting your campaign?
Yeah, so in Illinois, in the Illinois legislature, Senator Rachel Ventura is our sponsor in the Senate. She's really great, has a lot of interest in this bill and making sure that people in her district and beyond have access to plug-in solar and solar solutions. Representative Dan Dittich in the House is our sponsor on the House side, and there are other legislators, including Representative Evadina Delgado, Laura Faber Diaz, and Representative Rashid, that are all also really invested in this. So we have a lot of supporters in the legislature. We also have a number of environmental advocacy organizations and consumer protection organizations in the state of Illinois that are supporting this bill as well. And then I'll also mention that we have tenants organizations who care about this a lot too, because of course, since this technology will primarily be most helpful for people who are like renters or condo owners, they have, landlords or homeowners associations that could potentially restrict this. So we want to make sure that people who advocate for more tenant rights are also part of the conversation. And we have protections in the bill to make sure that folks are able to have this technology in their homes and not be super restricted, again, with safety at the forefront, but also making sure that there aren't unreasonable restrictions to it.
Well, what if you don't have a balcony or a patio? You mentioned like condo owners. I mean, what if you don't have a balcony or a patio? Is there still a way to use this?
Yeah, I mean, you can put it in a yard. Really anywhere there's an outlet is possible. So for example, I don't have a balcony or a patio, but we have like a shared little yard in front of my apartment where people will like let their dogs run and stuff. Potentially, if you can work it out with your landlord or with your HOA or whoever, you could plug it into an external outlet there and have savings happen that way. And again, you can also connect a battery system so that some of the energy, so the electricity can be saved when there's especially high amounts of sunshine. But honestly, if you have it on the outside of the building, you'll probably just end up using all of that electricity anyway. So yeah, it can be in a balcony or patio, but it can also be in a yard. As long as there is an outlet available, it can go there.
And let me ask you, I mean, usually there's a positive and negative to anything, and an argument, a reaction, all of those things. So, are you getting any pushback on this? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, like I said, I think the main pushback or just the main discussions we've been having around plug-in solar are around safety. It is a new technology, and with new technologies, there are always a lot of questions on, one, are the people in a household going to be protected and make sure there are no fires and things? And also, are the line workers who are potentially working during a grid outage going to be protected to make sure that the panel doesn't re-energize the circuit and potentially shock someone who's working on a line outdoors? Like I said, our legislation requires these systems to be certified by nationally recognized labs. Specifically, the one that we have cited is UL as one of them. And that means that they do have those specific protections that protect against people in their houses being shocked or anything from that, and also prevents feeding to the grid when the grid is down. So that will also protect line workers. So we've been talking through all of these very legitimate safety concerns, and also that's as important to us as getting this out to people. So I would say that is what the main source of discussion has been around, is just how do we make sure these are safe because it is a new technology, and how do we make sure that people are able to access them in a way that is regulated but not overly regulated.
Yeah, and a lot of the solar incentives have been going away. So, that's another aspect that, how are you all addressing that? That a few years ago, that was a reason for people to hop on getting different types of things, panels or whatever the other additions to their homes, vehicles and whatnot may have been. But with solar incentives going away, what do you say now?
Yeah, so those are really relevant to rooftop solar. I'll say in Illinois, we are very lucky to live in a state that has such strong state policy and state programs around rooftop solar. So, for example, Illinois Shines and Illinois Solar for All for income eligible households. Those programs are still very strong in our state. We put a lot of money towards making sure that folks are able to afford rooftop solar. Plug-in solar is a completely separate ballgame here. It is not affected by federal incentives or anything like that, because they are really just these appliance size systems that people can get. And right now, the market is pretty small in the states, obviously, because there are only a couple of states now that have them actually legalized, and they don't have to go through the complicated connection process in order to get them installed like we're trying to get past in Illinois. As the market expands in the US, as I've said, we have folks across the country working on this. That will make the prices of these panels go down significantly. There are also potential opportunities for having like rebates or something for these systems to help. But right now, the most important thing is just to make sure that we have the viability for people to actually install these in their homes. And then I think as time goes on, market expands, prices will go down. We can maybe introduce rebate programs or something like that. And I think they operate very differently than rooftop systems. So I don't think they're not as affected by the actions of the federal government in repealing some of those incentives.
Well, listen, it's been wonderful chatting with you today. You really know your stuff, so we've learned some new things. Thank you for your time today. Please keep us updated on where things go from here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, you take care. Everybody, it's 1:30. Give us 2 minutes. Our next guest is already on the line. We're going to talk about this major ruling against Meta this week. And when we talk about where things go from here, there's some big questions for social media giants coming up next. Okay, welcome back, everyone. 1:32 right now, and we saw a major ruling this week. A jury finding Meta and YouTube for negligent in their design or operation of their social media platforms. And so there's so much to discuss here about where we go from here. I want to bring in Parag Amin, who is the founder of the law office of Parag Amin, to talk a little bit more about what we're seeing right now and what we could see as time goes on. He's a business expert and an attorney who deals in business and labor issues. So he's got a wealth of knowledge on these types of things. Do we have Parag? Okay. Attorney Amin, we're working on getting that live. He was on the line. Appears we're having some issues with his live shot. So let me just kind of give you a background on the ruling, okay? So the jury awarded KGM $3 million in damages, which, I mean, it sounds like a lot to you and me. Might not sound like a lot to Meta, but they found that Meta 70% was responsible for harm caused to this 20-year-old plaintiff, and YouTube responsible for 30%. The trial began last month, of course, so we've been watching it for a while as it's been developing, and there, again, were so many questions as to would this kind of reshape, essentially, what we have seen, not only for social media of today, but what we will see from social media of tomorrow. One thing that we often see with technology is that it goes fast, full steam ahead, and then you kind of have people, after it's already out there, say, well, it had this effect, it's doing this, it's doing that. So we saw the emergence of social media sites, how they have blown up and, have millions, hundreds of millions of followers, of people who are online with them on a regular basis. Now we're starting to see more and more of these lawsuits into what they are responsible for in terms of the possible harms that they could be causing people. We've seen so many of them when it comes to young people, the parents that feel like there weren't enough parameters, there weren't enough guardrails to protect young people. And so we have seen quite a bit of that, where we've seen parents sometimes of young people who are no longer with us, even, who have come forward to say, no, we think that in order to save someone else's child, something needs to change. We have seen that. We've seen many other things. And so we just continue to look into this and ask more experts about what the fallout is today and what that will look like moving forward. So it appears that we're not going to get Attorney Amin right now, but we do have another guest on this, Nicholas Brinborg, the author of Super Stimulated, who is joining me now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So give me your impression, your reaction to the ruling this week.
Well, I think it's wonderful that there's some accountability. So there's no discussing that some of these products are highly optimized to retain attention, and it's been a great business so far. But the issue is that it's unloading some of the costs from this business practice onto regular people and society in general. So in that case, I hope it will lead to then changes of these business practices.
And I think many people immediately see these rulings and think like this has to spur some change. But then I also think about that $3 million, and that is like 25 cents to a company like Meta. Is it really pushing them to change?
Well, now I'm no expert on U.S. law. I'm not American actually. I'm Danish, but the thing I hope to see here is more that it sets a precedent, and then, or that I'm glad to see, it sets a precedent, and it then opens up for further discussions and cases to see, like decide on other stuff. So I think it can have a really big long-term impact without necessarily being a lot of money right now, because of course, yeah, you're completely right. This is pocket change.
Mm-hmm. And so from your standpoint, and what I like about the fact that you're not American is that this really has become a worldwide conversation about social media. I mean, people around the world are on social media sites. It is something that kind of unifies us at times, sometimes divides us. But I would love to know from your perspective how you feel where they're finding that these companies were negligent or responsible for some harms. What have you seen from your perspective?
Well, yeah, you're completely right that this is something that affects the whole world. So in my book, I describe pretty thoroughly how these business practices work, and you can see that actually, if we look at screen times right now, it's not necessarily Americans that have the highest screen times, not Europeans or other rich countries. You're seeing huge increases in countries like the Philippines, South Africa, Brazil. Is like a worldwide phenomenon. But it also just the case that these companies are the richest companies in the world, located in. They're the richest companies in the world, located in the most powerful country in the world. So there's not a lot of chance of regulating them unless you are very, very powerful yourself. So that would be something the US can do. Maybe the EU and other major power players could play a role as well. But it's definitely helpful for not just America, but everyone that you guys are now holding them accountable.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it sets a precedent that others will follow here, or as you said, benefit from. Tell me about your book.
So this book is called Super Stimulated. It's about the how various industries optimize their products by studying the human brain. So when it comes to social media, they have some of the best computer scientists in the world studying all about how you use their apps and how you can make, you would almost call it traps that people fall into that then make them spend too much time and then you earn a lot of money. This is the same kind of business practice. If you have a food company, you optimize your food to be as irresistible as possible, so people eat too much food. that's highly profitable for you as a food company, but it has some harms then for the person that doesn't want to just eat endlessly, because that makes you overweight and gives you health problems. So what we're seeing is that as humans, we have different instincts. We have an instinct to eat. That's for the food companies. We're socializing. You have that with the social media company, and practically every other instinct we have as well is being exploited by some kind of industry, and it goes on around the world, but it is mostly dominated by American companies, and it is all often hitting Americans the hardest. So you can see obesity rates and so on are really high in the US. And not because, of course, there's any difference there, but mainly just because it's your local companies, and the US is kind of the test market for this.
Yeah, and there's an aspect of that hits squarely for adults in the country, but then there's this other huge aspect of all of this that really deals with if we're overstimulated or super stimulated as adults, what it's done to youth.
Absolutely. So we know that when you have a developing brain, humans are not. We're born with some instincts and some general map of the world that our brain is expecting, but we are highly adaptable and plastic in who we turn out to be. So of course we get affected by the upbringing that we have, and the stimulation from various products, for instance. I mean, to take another example that I talk about when it comes to food, we know that your salt sensitivity is set pretty early in life. So that means if you're a young person that eats more salt, then later on you just have to have that much more salt in a product before you can taste it, and that leads you to have unhealthy eating habits, because salt in high amounts can increase your risk of high blood pressure. So we don't have the same kind of data for this stuff. It is still relatively new historically. So who knows how it affects a young brain to grow up on the constant rewards of a TikTok algorithm, for instance, or Instagram Reel algorithm, that you get these constant dosings. I make the case that the design is sort of like what you have in a slot machine at a casino, and you definitely wouldn't want that kind of thing for young people.
Yeah, I have seen that analogy in some other places of a gambling mentality, essentially, like a gambling addiction being put in youth at such an early age, like you said, without a developed brain. And again, if you see what it's done to many adults, what is life like 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the line for young people being inundated with that now? I mean, I'm grateful to have grown up without social media, but then I also have a lot of friends navigating that water with children who are growing up in it now.
Yeah, we can see some of the consequences actually. In a lot of developed countries, we're seeing falling test scores and various kind of cognitive scores if you measure them. So there's definitely already something going on. It's probably just that it's, these mechanisms are so strongly rewarding that they are outcompeting other stuff you could do, including, studying, doing your homework, that sort of stuff. It's sort of how the brain works, that it always looks around to see what kind of rewards are available. And if you have strong competitors, then it just takes that much more willpower to pull yourself. So yeah, it's hard for adults. We can see adults across the world are failing right now, but definitely the first line should be to protect young people that still have this plasticity.
Yeah. First line for sure. It should be. Thank you so much for chatting with us today. Let me ask you on a final note here, if this is the tip of the spear, or do you think this is just the beginning of like a leak that's going to open the floodgates to more litigation like what we've seen?
Yeah, so again, I'm not an expert on how the U.S. law system works. I could definitely say I hope this is what's going to happen. I hope that that it forces a change in business practices, so that you could go back to the many things that social media companies are doing that are good, such as making socializing and connecting better. And that was like sort of the initial mission before they got caught up in just cutthroat profit maximizing and turn to this side. So if these lawsuits can make that business practice less profitable, that would just be amazing. But again, richest companies in the world, they can get the best lawyers, and I know that works in your favor. Not just in the US, in the whole world. So we'll see. I definitely think there's an ethical case that's quite clear that you don't need the law system. That this is an unethical way to make money. That is not beneficial to society the way these businesses are earning their money. Hopefully then the legal stuff will reflect that as well.
Yeah, how far we have come from people just going to social media to socialize and connect. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Again, everybody, Nicholas Brynborg, the author of Super Stimulated. Thank you for your time. All right, it's 1:46, and when we get back, I think we're going to have a conversation on the Hannah Montana house, 20 years. 20 years. So a lot of folks are celebrating, and we're going to talk a little bit about the tie-in that's happening now with Airbnb next. All right, welcome back, everyone. 1:48 right now, and fans are celebrating 20 years of Disney's Hannah Montana. Airbnb is opening the doors to her Malibu beach house, and so I have Allie Killam, who is the channel communications lead at Airbnb, joining me right now to talk a little bit more about this partnership and this exciting moment for many fans. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
You know what? I cannot believe it's been 20 years since Hannah Montana. I mean, when you see Miley Cyrus today, you're like, well, yeah, she was a little girl then, but still, it just feels weird, huh?
Yes, it makes me feel personally very old. But it's incredible to see how much this show still resonates with fans today, and there's just so much love and excitement and fandom around it, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's been beautiful to see people get excited about this. And so the Malibu Beach House, so it's like a central part of it all. Tell us a little bit about the magic around the Malibu Dream House.
Yes. So this idea and state and experience was created as a way to celebrate 20 years of Hannah Montana by giving fans this really once in a lifetime opportunity to step into Hannah's world in a way that really felt real and immersive. And our main goal with this experience was to really bring that nostalgia from the series to life in a way that felt really fun, but also true to what fans remember and love most about the show.
Now, do you think it's going to be fans who are 20 years older who are trying to be a part of this experience, or maybe fans who new fans? Will it be introducing this to new fans, or will it be like fans who are 20 years older but maybe want to introduce their kids to it now?
Definitely. I think it's all the above. We are really excited. Of course, Hannah Montana resonates so deeply with the millennial audience, but it's also incredible to see how much Gen Z and younger generations are still connecting to the show and the themes and the characters. And we're really trying to make it a family affair if wished. For eligible guests, we're requesting that the guests that book are 18 years of age or older, but accompanying guests can be five years of age or older. So really checking into all audiences that might have a passion for Hannah Montana. And I think we'll probably see this resonate with a really wide audience, which is exciting.
I think so, for sure. Okay, from a real world perspective, what is somebody renting out? Like what
Yeah.
actually will they get?
Yes. So guests can expect a one night stay in this Malibu beach house, which is the actual home that's featured in the exteriors of Hannah Montana's home in the show. So guests will be able to stay there and also step into Hannah Montana's incredible closet, which was replicated in the home for the first time to celebrate this special occasion of the 20th anniversary. And this experience is really meant to immerse fans in the world of Hannah Montana, starting and focusing on that incredible closet of hers. So guests will be able to explore a variety of glittery stage looks, sequined tops, and other really bold accessories that are inspired by the series. And throughout the stay too, guests will be able to explore some other nostalgic details. My personal favorite is the replica of the stiletto chair that super fans might recognize from Hannah's closet in the show. There will also be a karaoke set for guests who want to put on their best Hannah Montana performances. And then guests can also just kick back, relax, watch some of their favorite shows from the series, or just enjoy the Malibu beach house setting in a way that feels really familiar to fans of the show.
Yeah, I meant, let's say that you're not even a fan of the show. Just sitting in a beach house sounds fantastic. Malibu
Yes,
sounds fantastic.
sign me up for sure.
Yeah, right. So how can people be a part of this? What do they need to do?
Yes, so guests can request a book starting today at airbnb.com/Hannah Montana. Bookings are open until 8 a.m. Central Time tomorrow, Friday, March 27th. And we are offering 10 one-night stays from April 6th through the 16th for up to 4 guests each. And as in terms of cost, this experience is completely free, $0 per person. Guests will just be responsible for their travel to and from Malibu.
Oh my goodness. So what I'm thinking is that there's going to be a whole lot. Listen, we were just talking about social media just a moment ago, but to me, this sounds like there will be a whole lot of advertising from the people who stay there about what it looks like. If only 10 stays are going to be granted, there's probably going to be 10,000 posts online.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of excitement around this one, and we hope to see, fans who want to share their excitement and Sharing this is really great. So yes, we expect there to be a lot of demand and excitement for this one, and we're excited for the up to 40 people that might be able to have this once in a lifetime opportunity. So yeah, really fun to see all the excitement online, definitely.
It's once in a lifetime for Hannah Montana, but have you all done something like this before with like another big topic or big person?
Yes. So, a general trend that we've seen on Airbnb over the years is that people are really looking for more than just a place to stay when they travel. They're really looking for really exciting, one of a kind experiences when they travel and taking advantage of that precious time. So, we have done some similar stays and experiences. We recently had the cottage from the popular show Heated Rivalry listed on Airbnb. We've also seen this is something that hosts are just doing organically themselves and listing homes that are featured in pop culture for super fans to experience. So yes, this is a first for Hannah Montana fans, but there have been other activations in the past that have been really exciting too.
Wait, I'm racking my brain over here about it, and I'm like, nobody hopped on the Home Alone house here in Chicagoland to do this?
You know what? The Home Alone house was actually listed on Airbnb for a limited time. I want to say in 2022 or 2023 for the holiday season. So that actually was available to guests for a limited time on Airbnb, which is fun. But we should probably figure out another opportunity to come to Chicago soon. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just trying to think of like iconic homes that people would love to. Yes, the Bundy home, or even I mean, there's so many out there, but yeah, you think about it, and you're like, maybe for each generation, there's a home that you felt like you lived in for a little while.
Yes, definitely. I know nearby somewhat to Chicago. Again, this is one where a host just opened it up to fans, but I believe there's a home that is allegedly David Letterman's home that he grew up in. We also had a host recently open up the home that was featured in the Poltergeist house.
Oh,
so
Lord,
definitely lots of other homes that resonate with other generations as well, and many different themes too.
Yeah, I'll pass on the Poltergeist house, but maybe the Brady home, but no, not the Poltergeist.
Definitely.
Well,
I'm with
thank you so much for joining me on this show today to talk a little bit about this. It's fun. It's lighthearted. I think, in a time right now where there's so many things that kind of make people like, oh, this is one of those things that just gets people excited about something and, something that they can celebrate and have fun with.
Yes, definitely. Well, we feel very happy and humbled to be a part of something like that. So completely agree. Thank you so much for having me today.
All right. Can't wait to see the post online from the Hannah Montana house very soon. Thank you for your time, Allie. Great chatting with you.
Thanks, you too.
All right. I'm trying to, what are some other homes, guys? 16 Candles, the home from 16 Candles. Yeah. Ferris Bueller's home. That's another one that would be here in our area. Planes, Trains, Automobiles. Listen, Blues Brothers, that would be another one that would be right in our area too. Yeah, I mean, we could go on and on. There's some pretty cool homes that I'm sure people, listen, I think maybe Michael Jordan's home, weren't they using that as an Airbnb? Yeah, I think they were turning that into an Airbnb as well. It makes sense, people who want the full experience, you want to walk up, see the 23, all that, from the gate. Sign up. All right, everybody. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. I'll set you up for the 2:00 hour. right, everybody, we're in the 2 o'clock hour now, and we have a few things that we're going to get to in this hour that I'm really looking forward to. We're going to call in our own Casey Cronus. Guys, has her story for the day changed? Yeah, I think she was sent to storm damage, but it may have changed. We're going to check on that and see if we can get Casey Cronus into the show. Also, we're going to bring in our political reporter, Paris Schutz, who is going to talk to us a little bit more about a story that has really not just gripped the city or state, but quite honestly, the nation at this point in time. It is all over my feeds online, that the conversation surrounding a Loyola student, Sheridan Gorman, who we lost last week, killed by a man that the federal government says is a Venezuelan undocumented immigrant. And it has really become and in some ways you hate that someone's death becomes a political flashpoint, but it has because of the dynamics of it. And so we're going to bring in Paris to talk a little bit about President Trump speaking directly about this situation today during his first cabinet meeting. The cabinet meeting was really about the war in Iran, but he stopped in the middle of it to talk about Sheridan Gorman from right here in our area. And so we'll talk about that, the fallout that's happened from that, and some of the other things surrounding that. That's coming up shortly. Also, we're going to talk about, when you say fallout, I mean the investigation into the collision at LaGuardia. Still in its early stages, but so many people, we all want to know what happened. Why did it happen? What could have happened differently to prevent it from happening? 2 lives were lost in that situation. And so, as you would imagine, there is a lot of conversation surrounding that right now as well. And we're going to talk briefly to a retired air traffic controller who would know best about what happens up high, looking low on the planes, and trying to navigate an increasingly changing situation, not just in terms of how many different entities are on tarmacs these days, but also staffing conditions that are changing as well for air traffic controllers. So a really important conversation to come on that. But we want to start off by highlighting a group right here in our area that's making a difference in the fight against hunger in a major way. To date, they have given away over 5 million pounds of food to local food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters. They are bringing poultry to pantries, I believe is how they put it. Dan Jeriabka is joining me right now with the Hunger Resource Network. He is the president and founder. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be on today.
And tell us about the Hunger Resource Network.
Well, the Hunger Resource Network was started in 2009 by my wife and I. It took us about 1.5 years before that to get it off the ground. And when we first started, we were rescuing everything we could think of from every place we can think of, appliances, toiletries, underwear. And as it started growing from Starbucks, Panera's, that type of things, and as it started growing, we realized that we needed to change the focus. So we reached out again to the agencies we normally work with to find out what their major need was, and the major need was protein. So we shifted our focus to be a protein provider to soup kitchens, pantries, and shelters.
And what you all have done has been huge in that time frame. Tell me a little bit more about, when we hear large numbers, sometimes the number can get stuck in our heads, but the actual impact it makes. Talk about that.
Okay, well, we bring in, now we're bringing in 80 tons, which is 4 semi-loads of frozen chicken. We've changed from leg quarters to drumsticks, mainly because the agencies we use, they prefer the way it's packaged. They're 5-pound bags instead of 10-pound bags. So like this last distribution we had on March 21st, we had 32,000 5-pound bags. So if we were able to give out, or if these agencies were able to give out one bag per household, we helped 32,000 households with that one distribution. And
That is
hopefully that
huge.
number brings it more into focus for
Absolutely,
you
it
and for
does.
your listeners.
What is your service area?
Well, we help agencies basically from the Wisconsin border to the Indiana border. We have Waukegan, Zion, Linwood to the south. We go from Lake Michigan to Kendall County. We serve, or we have about 70 to 80 vehicles that'll come and pick up the product, but they share it with other agencies. So we're actually affecting about 150 soup kitchen pantries and shelters in the Chicagoland area.
And what do they tell you about the changing times, the changing needs?
Well, most of the product that we distribute, like the 80 tons, my estimate from talking with many of the drivers and agencies that they will be distributing probably 60 tons that day. And out of the 60 tons, most of it will be consumed by families that weekend. And they could go through this every 2 weeks. The agencies that have a distribution, let's say the following Wednesday or the following Saturday, that's when the product will go out. But many of them are actually distributed that day. And it doesn't last long, it goes out very quickly. We're trying to figure out a way and raise the funds that we can do this, 3 or 4 times a year. Right now, because of funding, we're allowed to do it twice a year. We pay for the product, we pay for the trucking, we pay for the forklifts, and everything else is, volunteer. We get donated coffee and donuts. We have about 40 volunteers that help meet and greet with the agencies. The forklift drivers, everything's done with forklifts now, which makes it very efficient. We will start unloading the semis by around 7 o'clock. We'll start loading recipient agencies by about 7:20 in the morning, and by 9:20 we've distributed all 80,000 pounds. It goes that quickly.
Wow. And when we talk about things changing, obviously when I'm hearing, loading trucks and things of that nature, I mean, we have a lot of conversations about the price of gas right now. What does that look like for you all? I mean, the changing price to do what you do?
Well, that's part of the cost for us has gone up. It cost us more for the product. Trucking costs have gone up for us, but we bring it in from Goshen, Indiana. This is all raised by Miller Poultry, and we purchase it through Miller Poultry. They start harvesting the product when I place the order. So it is fresh product. It's not something that's been sitting in a freezer for a year. And, it's just all skin and bones. So it's fresh. It's good quality product because we pride ourselves in that we're providing a healthy protein portion for people to eat. But yes, the prices have gone up. So it used to cost us maybe $40,000, $45,000. Now it's costing us $65,000 to do the same thing.
Wow. So how can people help you all? I mean, how can we help you help others?
Well, you can go to our website, Hunger Resource Network. You can donate through there. For every $20, it'll bring in, I think it's about 80 protein portions. I don't have that number at the top of my head, but it helps a lot. We do buy it at a significant reduction compared to what happens through the grocery stores or that. And we do get some discounts from the trucking, but it's still very expensive. But through Hunger Resource, through our website, would be the best way to be able to help us.
Dan, what does it mean to you to be able to help people that you may never meet, to be able to feed families you may never know?
I know during the distribution, when the, excuse me, drivers that you've seen over the years, our first distribution was in March of 2012. Excuse me. So you get to know them, even though you see them twice a year, once or twice a year. But when they get out of their vehicles, they come over and give you a hug and say thank you. It means a lot. It's very humbling.
Mm-hmm. And what more, I mean, you have continued to raise the bar here on what you've been able to do. What more are you trying to do? What are some goals moving forward?
Well, to have another distribution, we're looking for, the people with deep pockets that can join us and help fund what we do. We've also started a program in Northbrook to provide not only toiletries, but also food for, we call it the student food pack, helping students on the weekends when the lunch meals are not provided. We help senior community get to the food pantry or food from the pantry to them. And we've also set up where we help rescue food from some of the businesses, and that food will go to local pantries to help meet the needs of the community.
Can you explain that when you mentioned rescue food from businesses?
Well, like we set up with Endeavor Health, they're all their hospitals, food from the cafeteria, not the food that goes to the patients, but like they have the separate cafeterias for visitors and that. Any excess food from there will be donated to the local soup kitchen or pantry. So Highland Park is one of it goes to Marion Township. Glenbrook goes to Northfield Township. Swedish Covenant goes one place. So we've helped set that up. We've helped set up rescuing food from Medline and from their cafeterias, and that's also taken to the pantry. So it's food that would normally be thrown out. It's still good quality food, but that goes to a local pantry to help feed the people in need.
Dan, thank you so much for what you and the Hunger Resource Network do on a regular basis. I hope that you all are able to do that second distribution and that people continue to support you all to do even more.
Well, thank you. Yes, our next one is in November, and we're hoping if we can squeeze one in between now and then, if the funds are available, we'd love to do it. The need is great. It really is.
Dan Jariaka, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. You have a great day and stay safe.
Thank you. Same to you. It's 2:14, everyone. We're going to get in a quick 2-minute break. All right, welcome back, everyone. It is 2:16, and I think we were all shocked as we started the week to see the horrible collision on the tarmac there in New York at LaGuardia Airport between a Canada, Air Canada jet and a fire truck. And there was so much conversation as to how could something like this have happened. There was a lot of that conversation then surrounded the air traffic controllers in terms of what was said, what wasn't said, and again, 2 lives at the end of the day were lost, and many, many, many others changed as a result of what took place. So let's go ahead and bring in Craig Bursich, retired air traffic controller who spent 27 years in the tower and is now an aviation consultant to kind of make sense, if you will, of it all. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So you disagree with some of the reporting thus far into this particular collision. Tell me how.
No, I disagree. There was a report that came out talking about O'Hare with hotspots and that kind of thing. I disagreed with that. As far as the accident goes, it's not right now to be speculating. I don't think as to what happened. The NTSB is involved in that. They're going to be involved. They're very good at what they do. They do what's called forensic investigating, and they're going to find out. They're going to find out what happened. They'll turn over every stone, and I'm sure there's a number of things. What I could tell you about that is that, LaGuardia is a busy airport. This happened it sounds like it happened on a midnight shift where there was probably reduced staffing, minimum staffing. I think the weather was a little bit low. They also had an emergency in progress, okay, with the United aircraft, which is why the fire department was out there. So that controller was very busy. He had a lot of things going on. Sounded like he was working 2 frequencies at the same time. I'm sure he worked a day shift, got off at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and came back for a midnight shift with 8 hours in between, that kind of stuff. So I think it would be wrong to be pointing at anybody right now, especially the controller. I've worked a number of mids over the years, and I know the way it is. You just have to wait and see what happens, see what the NTSB comes up with.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, because obviously the minute things happen, there are a lot of finger-pointing situations that occur. So yes, there is a report that says federal authorities have flagged 12 Illinois airports as having hotspot areas known for having a risk of collisions or runway confusion. But so has O'Hare, what has O'Hare done to maybe avoid that?
Well, I can tell you, I worked with both configurations. Probably 2/3 of my career was with the old runway configuration, and then as they started converting it to the what they have now, which is all parallels, I worked a number of years under that too. Honestly, the new configuration is much safer, if you ask me, than the old configuration. The old configuration was basically 3 sets of parallel runways, which all pointed at each other. They all either crossed each other or they converged. So what you had is 3 arrival runways, with arrivals coming in pointed at themselves and at other airplanes. And then you had the departure runways, departures coming off those runways pointed at the arrival runways, right? So if something happened, if an airplane pulled up, you had a situation, you had to work fast, you had to think fast, and you had to separate airplanes. Where the new configuration, they took those runways and they made them all parallel, right? So now you've got 3 arrival runways, they're all parallel to each other, nobody's pointed at each other. You've got departure runways, which are all parallel to each other. They're actually parallel with the arrivals. Nobody's pointed at each other. And so it's much safer, in that respect, right? You also have longer runways under the current configuration, which is a good thing. They do things different now. They don't land and depart on the same runway. We're under the old configuration. We were land and depart on the same runway. It's mixed runway operations, which makes them much more complex. Runways were shorter. it was just a lot more difficult under the old configuration. Most of the complexity has been taken out of it. The old configuration was very demanding on both controllers and pilots. And if you get a hold of a pilot that flew out of O'Hare years ago, I'll tell you that. But yeah, it's much safer now, I think. And in terms of the hotspots, again, with that hotspot map or that list that came out, was only 3 different hotspots, and it all had to do with aircraft that were pushing off a gate. In other words, an airplane that just got loaded with passengers that's now wants to push back onto an active taxiway so they can get to the runway and depart. Nothing really on the hotspot chart out by the runways or where airplanes are taxiing around, So I just think, the current configuration is much less complex, which makes it less or much more safe.
What is your thinking on how active runways have gotten over the years?
How active they've gotten? I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at there, but I mean,
more flights, more scheduled flights. A lot of the airlines, right now the FAA has said that they're going, or the federal government has said that they're going to take a look at the scheduling for this upcoming summer at O'Hare, that maybe there are too many flights that are scheduled for the summer. So the activity that's ramping up as these airlines, obviously, they're trying to make money, but is it at a cost of safety in the end, that there maybe are too many flights given the staffing with air traffic controllers?
Right. Well, I got to tell you, I'm glad to see that the FAA is they're talking about reducing flights, because in my time there, they never got involved in that. The airlines had free reign to do what they want. They could schedule as many airplanes as they wanted to schedule into and out of the airport. Just on 9/11, the day before 9/11, on 9/10, we had 2,976 operations. That year, we were getting on pace to go over 1 million operations a year. And then after 9/11, that kind of stopped everything. And then I think O'Hare's back up to that number right now, and it's equipped to handle it. It's better equipped. But, the airlines don't, gotta be careful what I say here, but they don't, they want to make money. You said it earlier. They want to make money. And they don't care about scheduling and delays. I think it all kind of falls on the control tower and on the controllers. So it's good to see that the FAA is coming out saying, you know what, we're going to cap it, because when you have an overworked controller or an overworked control tower or whatever it is, that encroaches on safety. The controllers are the people that have to deal with the delays and all that. So I was surprised to see that, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's a real good thing.
And what is the status that you're hearing of the air traffic controller community and the staffing issues? I think not this particular government shutdown that we're in, but the last government shutdown. I remember Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy at a press conference talking about the fact that they were working on some new campaigns to get more people to even come into the industry, so that those who were either retiring early or just kind of sick of the status quo and leaving had some type of support. Can you talk a little bit about what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and what you believe them to be experiencing right now?
From what I understand, they're still short. I retired years ago, and I was working my last 5 years. I worked pretty much 6-day work weeks because of the staffing issue, and they're still understaffed. I don't know what it is. I know they make the effort to get people. It's hard to find people that want to be an air traffic controller, and I don't. It's a different job. You have to be in the airplanes. You have to like airplanes and airports. Most people don't understand aviation. They have no clue what a controller is talking about when they say certain things, and that. So I think you're limited into as far as how many people would actually get interested in that. There's a lot of people. I've run into people that said, "Ooh, I would not want to do that job." Just much like a nurse or something. A lot of people would say, there's no way I would want to be a nurse, right? It's just a very specific kind of job. It's a specific skill set, and it's very difficult. There's a lot of training involved. I don't know. It's a good gig, but you got to be into it. You have to be interested in it.
How do you get the next generation interested, though? Inevitably, at some point in time, batons have to be passed. How do you get the next generation interested in it?
That's a good question. boy, if you had the answer to that, you wouldn't have a problem, right? Part of the problem too is, Reagan fired everybody. There was a big strike back in '81, and the president fired, most of the controllers were fired. And so a whole new workforce was hired in the following years. And if you do the math, that whole workforce ended up retiring at the same time, instead of it being staggered like it once was. So, it's not just, I think they're getting people, but it's a numbers game, because so many people retired at the same time, and then you end up, and it's a difficult job, especially, places like O'Hare, like, LaGuardia, Los Angeles, those are tough places to work. I mean, it takes a long time to train. Right now, I think it's over 3 hours for a controller coming into O'Hare Tower to get certified. And that's what previous experience, it's just, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I wish I could tell you.
And what about an airport like Midway? I mean, we've said a lot about O'Hare. We actually saw a close call happen at Midway last year. So what about an airport like Midway that may be a little bit smaller, but still very significant?
Yeah, Midway is a busy place. When I started, I spent my first 4 years at Midway, and Midway is a really good training ground to go to O'Hare, because Midway, it's a 1 mile square airport. All the runways cross, everything intersects, right? So that brings a whole new section to the rule book in. I mean, it's just a different operation. It's very complex, short runways, very demanding on the controllers. It's very demanding on the pilots as well. And it's a difficult place to work. I mean, it's not one of the busiest airports in the country, but the complexity always adds on to the the workload and makes it busier. So it's a tough place to work. When I was working there, they called it the world's busiest mile. And it's true. It's very busy. You have short runways. Pilots have to really be on their game when they land and depart out of there. Everything's tight. There's taxiways all over. The controllers do a great job there. Yeah, there was an incident. There's always going to be an incident. You hate to say that, but stuff's going to happen. But when you look at what they do there, and you look at what O'Hare does in some of the bigger airports, I mean, it's safe. Aviation is safe, but things are going to happen. Things happen sometimes, and I don't know what else to tell you on that.
Well, it's tough, and I would honestly say I believe that from my heart, air traffic controllers like that is a honorable profession, because all of our lives are in you all's hands. You said not many people know about aviation. No, we don't know about aviation, but we love to fly, which means
Right.
that we're putting our lives in you all's hands, and just believing that you all will see what needs to be seen, and make sure that pilots can get us in and out and where we want to go, whether it's for business or for leisure, personal or otherwise. So thank you for what you've done in your career, and thank you for now, serving as a consultant, so we can see, what happens with the next generation. Hopefully things get better, because every time we see one of these incidents like what we saw earlier this week at LaGuardia, I mean, just alarm bells go off in terms of how much trust we do put in other people's hands.
Right. Yeah. And again, that's the ultimate goal, is to not have accidents. But boy, if you look years ago, it's so much better now. I mean, it's safe to fly. I fly all the time. I know how safe it is. I mean, I know what they do at O'Hare, and I know what they do at Midway, and it's safe. But things are always going to happen. It's going to happen with anything, But the thing is, you need to find out what happened, why it happened, and try to eliminate potential. Try to address that and eliminate it so it never happens again. And it's going to get better and better. It's not going to get worse. But things like restricting the amount of airplanes that they're throwing into O'Hare, is probably a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, when you've set plans for the summer, you're like, oh my gosh! But if it keeps us safe, it's a really good thing. It ends up being a really good thing. So we have a question, or a couple of questions for you, just from a personal standpoint. which airports are your favorite or least favorite to fly out of now that you are out of the air traffic controller tower?
Oh, I have no problem flying out of O'Hare. Midway's too far for me. I live on the northwest side. I went through Newark to go to Europe right before COVID. That was terrible.
Newark's the rough one.
Yeah, I'm not in New York anymore. I've been in LaGuardia, I've been to Kennedy. Yeah, Newark. That's my final answer.
That's funny. I've had a couple of bad experiences with Newark as well. So very interesting that you have too. Thank you so much for your time and again for what you've done with your life's work. We appreciate you.
Okay, thanks for having me.
All right, you take care. Everybody, it's 2:32. Our political reporter, Paris Schutz, just walked in, so we'll get into a discussion with him right after this quick 2-minute break. All right, welcome back, everyone. Just about 2:35. Our political reporter, Paris Schutz, is here. And Paris, in the middle of the first cabinet meeting since the war in Iran began, the conversation went from a major worldwide geopolitical event to what has taken place right here in our city and the ripple effects from it. And what I'm speaking about is the death of Sheridan Gorman, the murder of 18-year-old Loyola student Sheridan Gorman.
Yeah, President Trump, before in his cabinet meeting, made sure to mention that murder again. He's mentioned it the last couple days. Today, his point was to basically talk about how Governor Pritzker has refused his offer, I guess you can put it, for National Guard to come in to help, quote unquote, fight crime. Even though National Guard, they don't do crime fighting, they don't do policing. When National Guards go into cities, it's usually the guard infrastructure, guard buildings.
From a natural disaster.
Help recover from a natural disaster. So there's no crime fighting element, but there's the perception that if he sends in the troops, that it'll help, bring crime down in a city. And, Pritzker is, obviously, the Supreme Court has ruled, or courts have ruled, federal courts, that it is the governor that has to request or call for the National Guard. The president can't do it over the governor's objection, except for in extreme circumstances. So that's
insurrection.
Insurrection, right? So that's what the president was harping on today. I mean, a lot of national Republicans, you've seen probably every Republican senator now express their outrage at the death of Gorman. But I have to say, it did not hit their radar until they realized or found out the information that it was from a purported undocumented immigrant. You know, there was no outrage, there were no tweets, there was no condemnation from Republican representatives until that information was out there, because it's political. It's all politics. It fits in with their political agenda. They want to, you know, do away with sanctuary cities and get tough on deportations, as the Trump administration has. So there's a lot of I think that there's great debate and criticism about whether sanctuary policies need to be rethought, need to be stripped down a little bit. Some believe they should be strengthened, but then it rises into this clickbait, you know, where like it fits into an agenda, and then folks express their quote unquote outrage, and then you see like Alderman Maria Hadden from the 49th Ward. She had to close her office. She's getting death threats against her family.
Right outside of the building.
Yeah, protests are one thing, but she's getting death threats, and she had to, you know, kind of close the office because she made comments on our air.
Here on the show.
You know, saying, and this was early on before there was a suspect, but saying it could have been, you know, it was wrong place, wrong time. They could have startled the person with the gun. Now, you know, comments that certainly deserve scrutiny, but then they just kind of got lost, caught up in this social media firestorm.
And it never seemed, she made those comments here on the air. I was interviewing her on Friday.
So that was your, right.
And it never seemed as though she was trying to lay blame
to the victim.
It did not seem that way. I specifically asked her, was it a targeted? Had she heard that it was a targeted event?
So this is what happens. Like, this was in response to a question, was it a targeted event? But it gets snipped and taken out of context. And again, those comments, certainly, you know, people might criticize them fairly, but taken out of context, and they get put on social media and influencer accounts with little siren emojis so they can attract more attention and dollars, basically. They can make money when they get a lot of engagement on social media. And what happens is millions of people see this stuff, they get outraged, they get angry, and then the death threats happen. So it's kind of a game on social media, but then there's severe real world consequences to this stuff.
Sure.
And that doesn't excuse Alderman Hadden. You know, that doesn't say, that's not a defense of what she said. It's just kind of, I wanted to use this.
Giving the context. It's giving the full context.
There's no context in stuff like that gets rage bait, and I just want to call attention to, like, we can have debates, and we want to have debates, but then we get to this point of people post on social media, so they can make money posting a certain way on social media that draws this rage, and that's what's going on, and it can have real world consequences.
So let's talk about now the push both here in the city of Chicago and the push within the state to change some of the policies, whether it's the Trust Act for the state or whether it's the welcoming ordinance for the city.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty much one side that wants to make that push, and the other side isn't necessarily jumping on. Republicans, and we've interviewed many of them this week, want the state to go as far as doing away with sanctuary laws. We had State Rep Patrick Sheehan from Lockport, who said he gets it, you know, he acknowledges with supermajority Democrats they're not going to do that, but maybe there's a compromise that can happen. But, you know, Democrats have kind of steered clear of the whole sanctuary issue. When Mayor Johnson acknowledged the murder, you know, he kind of acknowledged it as a gruesome, heinous act, and we're going to catch the criminal, and glad, but not bringing it into the sanctuary context.
And I think her parents, both when it came to Alderwoman Hadden and then also for the mayor, they've issued a couple of different responses to things that they have seen, you know, kind of populating online. One of those was to the mayor for not really addressing it for what it is.
Yeah. There's criticism of the governor for not having addressed this until this week. But the governor's saying, well, I want to give the family time to grieve. It's not, you know, my job to politicize something. And so he's saying, you know, Republicans are politicizing. So there's allegations going both ways on you're either politicizing it or, you know, avoiding the whole issue of sanctuary policies altogether.
But it is difficult when for instance, her death is a tragedy regardless of what the circumstances were around it.
I mean, is it any less or more of a tragedy if it's undocumented versus documented? It's the same level of tragedy. She's gone. A family is mourning the loss of their college student needlessly. But the notion that it's all of a sudden a much bigger tragedy because it was undocumented doesn't make any sense.
It's tragic, but it does hearken the question similar to a Lake and Riley. I brought that up yesterday. I was speaking to State Senator Plummer from Edwardsville, and we have a whole Lake and Riley Act because of it. Now the exact same situation for another young woman in another city, another town, could have taken place minus that one aspect of it, and there is a whole act as a result of these conditions. So it does change it a bit.
It does, and this debate is really nuanced. We don't know that sanctuary policies are to blame for this because we don't know 100% what this gentleman's status was.
True.
And I say that not to, a murder is a murder and a suspect is a suspect, but if someone actually had some kind of protected status, there was temporary protected status from Venezuela, then sanctuary laws don't have anything to do with whether or not they would have found him. So so the debate is because in the sanctuary jurisdiction, local police, they might know someone's a criminal and they know their immigration status, but they're not allowed to share that with the feds. Of course, that's a very robust debate to have whether that should happen. The issue is this person had been arrested for shoplifting. That's not a violent crime. So there's the people that want to change the sanctuary laws want to say that the police can share information on violent criminals. This guy wouldn't have fit into that. So there's no guarantee that there would have been. I mean, to blame a law, to blame an ordinance out of hand, like it doesn't make sense. You have to, you blame the killer. You blame the fact that, in other instances, if he was not caught on his warrant, there's a fair debate right there. Why was this warrant out for 3 years for the shoplifting and he was never brought in, he was never found? The DHS seemed to be able to identify this gentleman pretty quickly. Then why didn't DHS target him?
But there's also
in deportation, because they can. The sanctuary law does not, like, the misinformation is that it means you can't go deport. You could. DHS has the jurisdiction to come in and deport whoever they want. The sanctuary thing just means local police aren't going to cooperate on that.
But that's the aspect that is really a rub for a lot of people, quite honestly. Even in the sense of right now, there is a detainer from the federal government. Now, at this point, the person has been, charged with murder. So, of course, the person should be kept behind bars.
Of course. You think, some people charged with murder have been let out by judges, for reasons I can't understand.
But that's a part of why it becomes a rub. Is that maybe there should be some universal, instead of a piecemealed.
So this is another part of the debate. So detainers. What DHS has wanted for years is that the jail, Cook County Jail in this instance, would cooperate when they say, hey, we got this person that you just took into custody. We know this is undocumented. Keep them in jail. Don't let them, judges might release them pre-trial as they release many. Keep them in jail. Tony Preckwinkle, the Cook County Board President, and the county, passed their ordinance saying we're not going to cooperate on the detainer. Their reasoning was because they found that DHS only actually acted on these detainers a small percentage of the time. So DHS would go and say, hold them, the person would be held, but then DHS would never come. So now what do we do with the person? That was their reasoning. But certainly there should be a debate about if someone is a violent criminal, they're being held. Now DHS says, we know this person's in our system, they're undocumented, hold on to them, don't let the judge release them. There should be a debate about should the jail cooperate with that. Under the law right now they can't.
So beyond debate, again, her death, Sheridan Gorman's death, opens up that debate again. But do you actually see anything happening?
It doesn't seem like it, because it goes back to one party wants to have this debate and the other doesn't. And on city council, the more moderate, shall we say, alder people want to reopen this debate. But there were 11 of them that voted to basically when this whole modifying sanctuary ordinance came up, 11 voted to open up the debate on this before they could even vote. 39 said no, no debate. So they don't have the numbers, and so are more people gonna maybe go to that side? It doesn't seem like it. It really doesn't seem like it. Politically, I think many Democrats just don't want to touch the whole issue. They don't want to, especially after Operation Midway Blitz, they just don't want to be seen as giving an inch to DHS.
Sympathizing with them,
Right.
or working with them in any
when there are these
type
cases
of
like
way.
this family is saying our daughter is innocent, she was an innocent victim. I mean, look, but every killer, every victim of a murder is an innocent, most of them. I mean, victim of gang murders or victim of mass shootings that happen. I mean, most of them are innocent victims if they're just caught up in like Hydea Pendleton years ago was a completely innocent victim. And so I think the debate is broader about violence, about access to guns, about why judges are releasing violent offenders. All those things play into it. When you make it just about the sanctuary part of it, you're avoiding, not you, but like the people debating this right now, it's fitting a political agenda, but you're avoiding the broader things that lead to gun violence. Which is the bigger issue.
Sure, that is a big part of it. I mean, you can't skip around the fact that immigration is an issue that that this country has not dealt with in many generations.
And Governor Pritzker made the point that he's trying to deflect blame onto the national leaders that have not solved immigration reform. And I mean, since the Bush administration, there has been bills on the table to come up with comprehensive immigration reform where the Democrats would give on border security. So tough border security, in exchange for let's find a path to citizenship for, young people that were brought here by their parents and are undocumented. And there was broad agreement. Even President Trump said he supported, early in his first term, he made comments in a cabinet meeting saying, well, they came here through no fault of their own, some of these young DACA folks. If they're contributing to society, they're going to school, they're good, productive members, they want to join the military or they want to go to college, then this was like a bipartisan consensus that there was. But politically, immigration is always just on the agenda politically, and during election season, it feels like there's not an incentive to solve it because it always makes for politics.
Yeah, I mean, and it literally did seem like it was moving forward right before the last presidential election cycle. That there was a pause to be able to deal with it once a new president was in office.
Right. He said, I mean, Trump, before he was in office, there was another border bill. Now you can agree or disagree. Biden felt that you had to do it legislatively, and then he did an executive order very late in his administration after getting tons of criticism, after millions of people came across. So like this issue is not, it's in the political quagmire because there's too many politicians that have a personal political interest in keeping this as an issue when they run for election.
And
that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame. And people on both sides of the aisle ought to get angry at their now I'm getting competed. But they ought to get angry at their elected officials for playing politics on both sides and saying, screw your elections right now. There is bipartisan, there has been,
get something done.
Tough on the border, as Trump has been, tough on the border security. Maybe you toughen up the asylum process so not everyone can claim asylum in exchange for find a path for naturalization for the kids that were brought here who do not commit violent crime, are not caught up in the criminal system. There's a small percentage that are, and Republicans are focusing their ire solely on that. But nobody is talking about the broader issue of solving immigration. And even when they do that, it doesn't mean people aren't going to get through the cracks.
That is very true.
Like the border's closed now, but people can still get through the cracks. Someone might overstay their visa. There's no fail-safe way, 100%, to make sure not a single undocumented immigrant is not going to be in the United States. That will never happen, ever.
Yeah.
So
when you talk about parents like Sheridan's who feel like this has become so political, and yet we're just in the process of mourning our daughter, but not really feeling like people are speaking to them, but speaking around them, essentially. You also saw Joe Abraham, who was
Katie
speaking
Abraham
on
was his daughter.
He was speaking on Capitol Hill yesterday, and so he kind of sees it from a different lens he was not happy with Senator Durbin.
Right.
That was also a clip that went online quite a bit.
Yeah.
But he feels like he needs to speak up and be in these politician spaces to get something.
Right. So
done.
Abraham's the father of Katie Abraham, who was a downstate, again, college student, I believe, who was killed by an undocumented person who was drunk driving, basically. A horrible tragedy, senseless. And yes, I think Abraham wants Governor Pritzker to acknowledge this and not just avoid the issue of sanctuary, and acknowledge that maybe sanctuary policies are allowing folks that shouldn't be here to commit crimes. And the governor hasn't really acknowledged, and Democrats really haven't acknowledged that. So for sure, I mean, I 100% understand the frustration of someone like Joe Abraham. Although Katie Abraham's mother wrote an op-ed basically saying, please do not use our daughter to justify Operation Midway Blitz. She would not have wanted that. And I think there's politicization that happens with Democrats that try to avoid. They have not given someone like Joe Abraham enough of an explanation but Republicans jump on this issue and go over and 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 over on it. And let's just be honest about the political element of they are getting political boost from constantly feeding people's anger on this. And it led to the Lake and Riley. So there is policy that it led to, but then people just keep harping on it. So an honest debate should be had. And we've tried to have it on Chicago Report. We've got the more conservative alders. We had the FOP president. We had a GOP state rep. Honest debate. Let's debate these sanctuary policies. There's certainly an honest debate to happen within, the prism of honesty. And then you get outside that and you get the politicization and all that stuff.
You mentioned Chicago Report, so tell us a little bit about what are the other things you're working on right now?
Well, we're working on, there's a debate happening over facial recognition technology, and there's a bill to ban that in the State General Assembly for police, where DHS apparently used this technology to identify Jose Medina, the suspect, in this murder. So there's a great debate here. Like, on one side, it can be absolutely a violation of your civil rights, Fourth Amendment.
Privacy concerns.
Privacy. On the other side, does it work? How do we have that debate? Good debate, let's debate it. That's a substantive debate where, it doesn't have to be politicized. So we're working on that and some other stuff. And, CPS also apparently is going to have a new CEO/superintendent. It's a
new person?
The same person that's been there. So here's what they did. They hired a search firm that then quit because the search firm did not agree with the board president on who the finalists should be. They spent tens of thousands of dollars, however much they spent, probably more than that, to land on the person that was already there. So CPS right now in a nutshell, and the school board in a nutshell.
A quagmire for sure.
A
quagmire for sure.
Meanwhile, while they're trying to, I also hired a law firm to find a quote-unquote leaker who told me about a public meeting.
And so I'm hearing dollars, still no, and all to go back around to the person who has been leading them for the last several months.
The interim who has won over a lot of the elected school board, Macklin King. The elected school board members liked that she was independent and she went against what the mayor wanted in terms of more borrowing. That ticked off the mayor's administration, but now it seems like even his allies on the board are saying, okay, after this search, when we're presented with our options, the person that's here is the best option.
And you could kind of see, so the first group of people, she wasn't a part of. The first group of people,
she wasn't she wasn't one of the finalists.
She wasn't a finalist in the beginning. She was a finalist the second go round after there was some backlash from the first situation.
Disagreements. The search firm leaves, and all of a sudden, there she is.
And then
she's
when
the
three people are named, one of them immediately dropped out.
Then one drops out. We don't know why. Someone from New York.
Yeah.
There's some thought that the mayor had been interviewing a lot of these finalists and had been asking them to go along with his agenda. And so King is in, and then fully elected school board comes in next year. So that'll be a whole different animal where you'll have 20 board members elected by the people. We don't know what ideology they'll have, what backing they'll have. Will they be CTU? Will they be charter? Will they be whatever?
But elected.
That
changes the game.
But she'll have a contract, I think, that goes to 2029.
Regardless of what their ideology will be coming in, they will be elected, meaning they have people to
It's like
represent.
the Bears all these years where they would have a general manager fire the head coach, and then a new general manager comes in with the head coach he inherited, and then they fire the general manager. It's like they're not aligning. The board is not aligned with the CEO right now. But King, obviously, in this search, emerged as the best option.
I think the mayor
after everything that happened.
Mayor has other things to deal with.
Like firing top
He's
level
got a few
officials?
other things to deal with right now. So thank you so much, Paris, for coming up here. We appreciate it. Great conversation with you. It's about 2:57, everyone. So give us a quick 2 minutes. We'll be back. I'll set you up for where we're going in the 3 o'clock hour. All right, welcome back, everyone. It is 3 o'clock, and we still have a lot to get to here in this final hour of Chicago Live for today. We're going to talk with our chief meteorologist about the changing conditions outside right now. It is opening day. There is an energy in the city and excitement in the city that we haven't seen maybe since the Bear season ended, but baseball season is kicking off, and we know that people want to be out, especially Cubs fans want to be out at Wrigley. They may have come out the house like this, without sleeves, but maybe brought a jacket with them. Things are rapidly changing outside. In fact, can we just take a live look? Look at that. Oh my goodness. We started out with a beautiful day outside, and conditions are changing as we speak. The clouds are rolling in, the wind is picking up. We know that storms are on the way. So we'll talk with her about what we can expect this evening, and even for that possibility of what level of severity we're looking at in terms of the storms. Okay. So that's coming up a little later on this hour. We're also going to talk with our friend from WGCI, the one and only Leon Rogers, who's going to be talking about a new album for the artist formerly known as Kanye West. That it was kind of insinuated that there was probably some new music in the works, new music getting ready to come out when we heard Ye start to kind of be a little bit more conciliatory, if you will, to many of the communities that he's hurt in the last several years. And so we'll talk a little bit about the effort to turn his image around and push out new music at the same time. We'll talk about that soon. But first and foremost, we're going to have a conversation about drones, and not just everyday drones that we see out there, but more specifically the use of drones in so many of the conflicts that we see around the world right now. We see them when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. And in fact, Ukraine then helped us when it came to our conflict with Iran, because they had already spotted the types of drones that Iran is dealing with because they came from Russia, many of them. So I want to go ahead and bring in Cordell Bennigsen. He is with US CEO R2 Wireless. He is the US CEO for R2 Wireless. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And so your company detects and identifies drones through their radio frequency signatures. Talk about the type of technology you all use and what you're seeing in what you do.
Absolutely. What you just described is right. What we do is we detect drones by listening for their radio transmissions. And we do that with a system that is passive. And what that means is we're not like a radar. We're not transmitting signal out there. We are listening. And what we're listening for is the unique characteristics, what we call the waveform characteristics of each drone. And when we pick that up, we're then able to classify what is this? Is it a drone? Is it something else that we're hearing? If it is a drone, what kind of drone is it? And we're able to locate it and track it. And we do all of that without having to hack into or read the signal itself. We do it just because we can pick up the signal, we can triangulate the signal, and that then lets us be able to look really broadly across all kinds of drones and all kinds of things that are transmitting, and it makes it really, really hard for them to hide from us or to use frequencies or methods that some other systems might not be able to see. Our system is really able to see all of those transmissions of the drone itself, and this is really important, the drone and the controller, because we don't only want to know that there's a drone there, we want to know who's controlling that. So there may be someone we want to go talk to.
And one of the things that came up in that initial conversation about the drones being used in Iran was the low cost of them compared to some of the things that have been used in previous conflicts. Can you talk about that changing landscape?
Absolutely. And what you're hitting on there, which is such a great observation, is why drones have become so widely used and so popular in conflicts all around the world. Historically, military systems, defense systems, if we think about aircraft and we think about ships and we think about tanks, we're talking about millions and millions of dollars. And drones, as we all know, anybody who's gone out to a store or seen them on the shelf, drones can be as inexpensive as just a couple $100. They can be a couple $1,000s, but they are completely different from a price point than traditional military equipment is. And that means that so many more people can have access to them. And it's not just about how big is a country or an adversary's defense budget. because these things are now really available to absolutely anybody, and that's why we see so much proliferation, so much expansion of use of them around the world on the battlefield, but also even away from the battlefield in urban environments and other kinds of situations as well. The fact that they are such low cost is a really critical aspect of why we see them so frequently now.
Yeah, and you mentioned all kinds of things transmitting. How difficult does it make legitimate security operations when you do have so many things that are transmitting in the air now?
You're absolutely right. That's one of the challenges in being able to do this is we live in a world, we operate in a world, and whether we're talking about a city or we're talking about a battlefield that is just full of radio transmissions. Everything is transmitting, and it's friendly things. It's things that are just being used for communications, like radios and Wi-Fi routers and things along those lines. And then there's the stuff that adversaries and bad guys are using. And being able to listen through all that noise and figure out what's important and what's not is a really hard thing to do. One of the things we do at R2 that's new now, one of the reasons we can do this and we couldn't in the past, is the use of machine learning and AI to be able to look for patterns, to be able to detect something that could be a threat in all of that other noise that's out there. We don't want anyone to be able to hide in all of those other transmissions. And once we can do that, then we can give that information to our military personnel, to our first responders or our security people, who then have the information that they need to make the best decisions that they can.
Yeah, and what are some of your other concerns moving forward now that we see so many of these things? It kind of harkens back into a discussion that I had earlier in the show about say social media platforms, and whenever it comes to technology, we go full-fledged, all in. They move very fast and everything becomes accessible very quickly, and then we start to see like, oh, there's an issue with this. Oh, we probably should have slowed down here. Oh, maybe there needs to be some regulation here. What are your concerns moving forward when it comes to drones?
What you just described, that speed of innovation and change, that's one of the things that we really have to be aware of and we have to be responding to. I mean, that's absolutely a concern, is if we are only developing sensing capability and detection capability for today's threats, by tomorrow that's going to be outdated. This is all moving so quickly. Now, the Department of War, the current administration, they're doing a really good job of trying to accelerate defense procurement. That's something that traditionally, historically, has been pretty slow, pretty bureaucratic, and they recognize that technology is moving so fast now that we need to have development processes and acquisition processes that are really fast. And we are absolutely seeing that come through in the way the Department of War and security organizations are acquiring new technology. But we have to do it in a way that is what we refer to at R2 is future-proof. We don't want to be just developing systems that will protect us from today and in the past. We need to be developing systems that will protect us in the future. And we have some capabilities within our system, our detection system that we call Odin, that does that. That even if it's something in the future we've never seen before, our system has the ability to detect those because we want to make sure that fast changing technology doesn't outpace us.
And maybe circling back to where we started with this discussion, are we behind? As quickly as things have developed here in this country, are we actually behind when it comes to this technology?
We are not behind. Absolutely not. We are not behind. But it is a fast evolving, fast changing environment. And what we have to do is keep up. And we don't want to just keep up. We want to be ahead. And so we need to keep accelerating our own speed of innovation. We need to be accelerating our own speed of acquisition and fielding these systems so that there isn't a risk of falling behind. But we have some of the best the best military personnel with the best equipment in the world, and we want to maintain that position and continue to be investing and innovating so that we're always in that place of not being behind.
And before I let you go, we've talked about some things that were international, but even here at home, there have been a couple of incidents recently regarding drones trying to fly above our military bases. I mean, what do we know about those situations?
Exactly what you just said is we know that there are unidentified, unapproved drones operating around and over some of our sensitive sites, military installations, and even non-military infrastructure. We don't want unknown drones, unknown surveillance, whatever it might be, operating around and over those locations. That's not good for anybody. And so what we need to be doing, those same things we're talking about from a battlefield perspective, investing in sensing capability, the passive detection that lets us always be on, always be looking. We never want to be surprised. And we want to give our people who are providing security, who are providing defense, the best information that we can about what's out there, so that they can be making the best decisions that they can about what's a threat, what's not a threat, how am I going to respond to that. So some of the details in a military battlefield environment may be a little different than in a protecting civilian infrastructure, but fundamentally the technology is the same, and we need to be bringing that same capability to all of those who are out there trying to keep us safe.
Yeah, and that requires so much these days, but it requires eyes in so many different directions, because of all of the different things that are changing rapidly and the different uses for things that are out there as well.
Absolutely. You talk about eyes in different directions. I mean, one of the analogies I often think about is night vision goggles, the ability to see in the dark. And there was a time when people couldn't, and people used the dark to their advantage and they hid. And then when we developed that ability to see in the dark, those people who could do that better than anyone else, they had better situational awareness and they had an advantage. Today, that environment is radio frequencies. It's the transmissions that are going on between everything. And right now there's gaps and there's holes in that. And by using passive radio frequency detection that's looking at everything, we have the ability to fill in those gaps and those holes. And it's like getting night vision goggles for radio frequencies, and we can then see that landscape, we can see that terrain, and that will give us the advantage that we want to have.
Cordell Bennigsen, U.S. CEO for R2 Wireless, thank you so much for your time and for your expertise today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Take care. It's about 3:14, everyone. We're going to take a 2-minute break, and then we're going to get to our next conversation here. We're hoping to bring on our friend to the show, friend to the station, the one and only Leon Rogers from WGCI. All right, welcome back. It's 3:16 right now, and let's go ahead and bring in the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Leon Rogers from WGCI. Hey, man, how are you?
Hey, Anita, how you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. What are we thinking about this new music for, are we saying the artist formerly known as Kanye West?
And listen, at this point in stage in his career, I don't know what to call him, but I am excited about this new album that's coming out. I've heard one of the tracks before, like in some leaks, but I'm excited about this new album because he says he's getting back to the old school Kanye with the soul samples. He's not using AI vocals or anything like that. So I'm very excited about this album.
College Dropout was undisputed. I mean, a work of art. And I feel like maybe was the truest version of Kanye West in the iterations we have seen over the years. But when we talk about iterations, the last several years have been hurtful and painful to a lot of people, not only for things he has said and done, but also to just watch somebody you really did think so much of kind of go in a very different direction with their life.
So here's my take on that. I don't look to music artists for anything but music. And Kanye's always been very outspoken. He's a very intelligent brother, and he processes and thinks a lot about what he's going to say before he says it. So when he said the hurtful things that he said, that was really on his mind. And he said in the past that he struggles with mental illness, being bipolar. Those things were really on his mind. Now, as a comedian, I'm all for free speech, but you also have to understand there are consequences for the speech that you put out there. And when they start hitting your pockets for that paper, Anita, it changes up. You will get apologetic in a heartbeat when they start taking that money from you and when life goes another way. But I gave up on Kanye speaking on political things and other stuff like that a long time ago. I just want to get music from him. He's one of the few artists that every album he's done, no album sounds the same. From, like you said, College Dropout, 808s and Heartbreaks, My Beautiful Twisted Dark Fantasy, which is a great album. And now this one's coming out. He's getting back to the old Kanye. And maybe that's what he needs, is a reboot and a reset, and sit outside and look at himself in a different light. And get back to the music, Jay. Just get back to the music.
Do we think that there's enough people who can turn the other cheek, or who, in a nation that where we can see second chances, third, fourth, fifth, 18th, 80,000 chances for people, if that will translate into how people receive his new art?
Yeah, it is. It is like this whole thing about the cancel thing. Now you get set back for a while, but he has a fan base that is going to want to, and he has a fan base that's going to want to hear what he has to say, no matter how crazy it might be. And they're going to stick with him. And again, there are people like me that's like, I don't really care what Kanye says about this, that, and the other, about world events or whatever. I just want an album from him. And I'm going to listen. I'm going to stream it. You may not buy it, but you're going to stream it. He's going to get streams because people want to hear the music. I don't think he pissed people off enough where they don't even want to hear the music from him, because it's been a while since he's dropped an album and everybody's waiting on it.
One person who I have seen by his side through it all, the ups, the downs, the really ugly and the celebratory times, was oh goodness, I'm losing his name. Comedian, just dropped a special recently. Left.
Not Ali Sadiq.
No. Left kind of, he has like all this property out. Oh my goodness. Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle. I'm like trying to think. Dave Chappelle. Yeah. So and Dave Chappelle, has faced his own, the firing squad for him, and came out on the other side and still has been able to be successful. How do you see like having support systems from people like that who may have walked in some of the same very difficult situations by your side? How do you see that?
For me, like I said, once again, as a comedian, I'm never going to be against free speech. If I can be able to say what I want to say, I have to be able to take what somebody else says. But I also have to know that there are consequences. Dave Chappelle, he's had his issues with the LGBTQIA community, right? But he still came out on the other side clean. So he's walked in through the fire like Kanye. And at the end of the day, he has a fan base that is going to listen to him. So I think Kanye looks at it as like, to have somebody like that in my corner publicly. Maybe Dave Chappelle chastises him behind closed doors. We don't know what the conversation is when they're sitting with each other and he like, hey, Kanye, you know, you can't be talking crazy about Jewish people like that, man. I know you may feel that way, but everything ain't for public consumption. You know, he might be that person that checks Kanye. And I think that's always been one problem with Kanye, in my humble opinion, that he's never had anybody in his camp to check him. And the people that did check him, he got him out of his camp.
That's a big thing. You know, as artists get bigger, keeping the people who will keep you humble around you. That is a very good point. So let me ask you, because you don't just consume, one artist. What are some when you think of good music? What's out there right now?
Oh man, so I'm really in love with falling back in love with R&B, man. You got people like Leon Thomas, Ella Mean. My coworker Zach Boog put me up on this guy called Ella Mean, very talented out the UK. Then Kalani with what I thought was the song of the fall going into the song of the winter going into the spring, Folded. Amazing song. The ladies are killing it. SZA, Victoria Monet. I'm waiting for her to come back out and drop. But the R&B is kind of making a little resurgence amidst all of the hip hop. And not saying that hip hop is dying, but hey, listen, you got the GOAT about to come back and do a series of concerts. Maybe we might be getting some new music from him. I don't know. All I know is I'm in New York in July to go see my man get down. Reasonable Doubt. I'm there. 30 years of Reasonable Doubt, 25 years of the Blueprint. So I'm really just invested in R&B right now, man. Some of these songs are so powerful. Chris Brown had a great song. TikTok is blowing up a lot of songs, but some of these artists are hanging on after they get the TikTok push, and they're putting out great music.
Yeah, and what is the state of the industry, do you think, right now? When you talk about streams and things like this, like how are artists actually making money these days?
Well, that's the big thing, about buying bots. That's what Drake was going to court about, songs getting pushed by the record label. It's neither here nor there. Listen, I don't get into all the politics of it, but I do know artists have to become a lot smarter in this version of the industry, because with all the digital and streaming sales, with the different ways companies can make money off you, you have to be airtight in knowing what you're putting out. And you could be here today, gone tomorrow. 15 minutes of fame really means that nowadays, because time you drop a song, there's somebody coming behind you that sat in the basement and made a TikTok tune that's going crazy. My 13-year-old daughter is playing it on the phone every day. Now the next thing you know, they're the hot thing. So how do you stay on? How do you maintain? I think that's that's an even bigger struggle now for artists in the industry.
Okay, and aside from the music, you always have a million things going on. So let's talk about Leon Rogers. What do you have going on right now?
Oh man, booked and blessed. First of all, this little sign right there behind me. I'm sorry. Oops, the other way. Sports Unplugged. That's my sports podcast that I do. You can follow us at SPORTZ Unplugged on all social media outlets. Let's go to the YouTube page and get those numbers up. Of course, we're doing comedy. Joke Jam. April 12th, me and Zach Boog will be at the Laugh Factory. WGCI presents Joke Jam. It's going to be a great show, comics from across the country. And last but not least, man, I do a DJ set every second Friday of the month at this wonderful black-owned establishment called the Copper Steel in Homewood. So if you like old school hip-hop and R&B, come check me out. And listen to me now on V103 Saturday nights from 9 to 10 on a show called The Vault which plays the best of old school hip hop and R&B, that 90s era when hip hop, you know what I'm saying?
Golden.
We was getting it in.
It was the
we was
best.
getting it in.
It was the best.
Come on now, Anita. What you know about ain't gonna hurt nobody. We was having a good time.
Oh, I love it. Good
Took you back
time.
to college right there. You just jumped into school real quick.
Great chatting with you, as always.
All the time.
Thank you so much. And I did say he does a million things. You heard all the things that you can support with Leon Rogers' name on it. So let's be about our business. Thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate my Fox family, man.
All right. You take care.
Yes, sir.
All right. 327. There's no one like him. Let's take a quick 2-minute break, everybody. We'll be right back. Hopefully, we'll be able to transition into our conversation about the weather that is changing rapidly outside. All right, welcome back, everyone. 3:32, and we have our chief meteorologist here, Emily. We're not only talking about okay, the sky is changing outside, but you're really starting to see some stuff pop up already.
Yeah, so we're starting to see some showers and thunderstorms developing. Take a look at this this live cam.
That
Anita.
wind is going.
So remember that one time when we were talking about the Cubs game, and we said that it's going to feel drastically different during the game than it does at the beginning? That
Here we
picture
are.
right there says it all.
Yeah.
So it's very gusty now. We have really strong northerly winds, and that's beginning to bring in some of that cooler air too. So with the cold front that's been coming through, temps are dropping more than 20 degrees in a matter of about 20 minutes.
Ooh.
So it's a pretty dramatic shift that we're seeing out there. But the one thing I will say is that, we had talked about this a little bit yesterday too. Once that cold front comes through, it's going to limit the threat of severe weather earlier in the day. So here in the Chicago area, we're still highlighted to see maybe an isolated strong to severe storm, but I really think that it's going to end up developing south of us.
Okay.
So we're already starting to see some showers and thunderstorms firing up, mainly over toward northern LaSalle County, southern DeKalb County, kind of following just south of I-88. They're going to be tracking to the south and the east and then riding right along this cold front. So the areas that we're a little more concerned about today going to be near and south of I-80. And as we know, 2 weeks ago, this area was hit very hard with not only a deadly tornado, but very large hail.
Yeah.
What I can tell you, and for folks that are watching near and south of I-80, this is not going to be a repeat of what we had 2 weeks ago.
That's really important to note.
We do have a setup for brief spin-up tornadoes being possible, mainly in Kankakee County, Newton and Jasper counties. And, whether or not, we're talking about long track, large tornadoes, or even brief spin-ups, there's an element of, stuff we have to pay attention to today. But it does not look like a repeat. And I think that's really important to share with everyone because, we're coming off of a really big event from only 2 weeks ago.
That people are still cleaning up from.
Right. So something that I am a little more concerned about with these storms is going to be the damaging winds and the hail risk. So I'm not overly concerned about the tornado risk at this point, but the damaging winds, we're looking at 60 plus mile per hour winds with any storm that ends up becoming severe. That alone can cause some damage, bring down tree limbs and, power outages, things like that. But also the hail risk. So I think the storms that we have developing again today, they're going to be hail producers.
Okay.
So 2 weeks ago, we had a new state record with 6 inches plus hailstones that were falling from the sky. Today, it's looking like we could be seeing as large as 2 to 3 inches, which is still really, substantial. That's about the size of an egg, or 3 inches is closer to the size of a tennis ball. So those are still, damaging hailstones that we could be experiencing. So just kind of plan ahead that if you are going to be out and about this evening, know your plan, know where you're going to go. If there's, a warning that's going to be issued, there is that low end chance for a tornado risk, but it's looking like it's about a 2 to 5% risk. Comparing that back to 2 weeks ago was actually a 15 to 29% risk.
Oh, wow.
So it is significantly lower, but what I want you to take away from this is that the threat isn't zero, right? So just have ways of receiving those severe weather alerts. But for those of you in southern Kankakee, you're in that 2% risk zone. Southern Newton and Jasper counties, you're in that 5% risk zone. And this is going to last through about 9 or 10 p.m. After that, the rest of the night, we're going to quiet things down. It'll be gusty, it'll be windy. The tides are changing out there for us tonight. We're kind of going back almost to winter time tonight. But the severe weather threat, that should drop off after about 9 or 10 p.m.
Okay, that's the most important stuff, everybody, that you need to know and pay attention to and be aware of, be ready for today. Where do we go from there?
So tonight we're dropping down to the freezing mark. So it's going to get cold tonight. But then tomorrow is kind of it's a one-day deal of being chilly. We're going to be in the low 40s for your highs tomorrow. And then Saturday, we're back up to near 50 degrees. We'll have sunshine for the weekend. On Sunday, we're going to have some higher level clouds around, so we'll start to see increasing cloud cover, but dry skies over your weekend. And I think by Sunday, we're going to be in the 60s again. So not so bad. You know, this weekend overall looks pretty nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this will hopefully just be a blip on the radar screen, not too bad for anyone out there. Not too.
Yeah, that's right. And we have a few hours to get through here. And again, that severe weather threat that's going to drop off right around 9 or 10 p.m. So we should be able to sleep easy tonight, hopefully.
Okay. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming
You're
up. We know
welcome.
you got to get ready for the 4 o'clock news, so we appreciate any time we get to spend with you to alert people to what's going on out there. Give us 2 minutes, everybody. We'll be back. All right, welcome back, everyone. It is 3:41, and many of you know that we lost one of our city's finest last week. Firefighter EMT Michael Altman on last Monday was responding to a fire in Rogers Park. He worked for Truck 47 that typically cover the Edgewater area. They went to Rogers Park to fight a fire, and he did not make it out of that fire. He was on the first floor when the ground beneath him collapsed, and he fell into the basement, and the next day succumbed to his injuries. Look at how the community has come together today. This is a visitation this evening from 3 to 8 p.m. at St. Rita of Cassia Shrine Chapel. That is at 7740 Southwestern Avenue, where so many people have come to honor him, to honor his service to our city, and to honor his family. There is a long history of service in his family. He was a fourth-generation firefighter, and you can see many of the firefighters and EMTs who have come out and are in that crowd to pay their respects here. Interestingly enough, when we talk about loss and when we look at these moments, we have said all along that firefighter Altman was a young man. He's 32 years old. I believe June would have made 2 years with the department. So he was just shy of 2 years with the department. So starting out his life, young life, with his professional life was on the rise. His personal life was too. We've talked a lot about that as well. His family, a young toddler at home, a wife at home, and his wife, when all of this happened, was pregnant with their second child. You're hearing me say was pregnant with their second child. Well, today, she went into labor. So there was actually supposed to be a funeral service tomorrow. You're hearing all of my language change because that funeral service for tomorrow has been canceled because the Altman family has gained a new angel here on earth. It is unfortunate that obviously these people who have gathered are there to honor the angel that they've gained in heaven as well. But we are continuing to think about, to pray about for his family as they are going through such a ride of emotions right now. A new baby, and the loss of a hero in their family. And again, for a family that has served the city for many, many years. And obviously, when you have a history of firefighters in your family, you've seen people rush into danger time and time again. Every day that our first responders wake up and put on the uniform, we know, and they know, they have signed up for a life where it could indeed be their last. But in a family of those who for generations have served this city, his grandfather once being the commissioner here in this city, you think that you will make it out. You hope that you will have a long career just as those that you have seen before. And it is just so tragic that his was cut short in such a way. Obviously, the focus right now is on his family, as it should be. As we watch these lines, there is still an investigation ongoing as well. into a Chicago man who is now facing charges in connection with that fire that ultimately led to the loss of life of firefighter Altman. Prosecutors say that 27-year-old Chavis Slate set a mattress on fire inside of that basement that I described firefighter Altman falling into. He set a mattress on fire in that basement boiler room and left the building without warning anyone. Apparently there had been some issues between roommates. This man, this Chavis Slate, had been told to leave and come back, and broke into the basement, was staying there with some mental health issues, and set fire again to a mattress in that basement, and left without telling anyone who was in the building. So it was about 11:30 in the morning last Monday when firefighters from near and far were alerted to this fire at a 4-story apartment building. And they rushed there, and they rushed in to get anyone and everyone out. This was March 16th. And there were no other losses of life as a result of their heroic actions on that day. And so we're grateful for firefighter Altman's sacrifice, for his calling to run into danger, and for his family that is grieving right now. We have our own Joni Lum, who is there for the visitation today. And Joni, it really is, this is a hard time, but it is beautiful to see how many people have come out.
Oh, Anita, that has to be a comfort to the people who are so sad today. We're getting ready to do our live report here with the other reporters outside of St. Rita. I just wanted to give you a look at what's happening out here. And as I was walking up or getting ready from the parking lot, I see a lot of people who are already crying before they even get to the chapel. This is St. Rita. We are very familiar with it, as you know, from other sacrifices that public servants have made, and then their funeral services are here. I'll show you that there are multiple units that have come here. I met a firefighter yesterday on another story who said they were all told to bring those dress uniforms. As you can see, this firefighter walking up right now, bring those dress uniforms to work because you're going to be attending this. Yesterday, we did not know that, of course, we didn't know that Mrs. Altman was going into labor. She's delivering her baby girl today, and so that's why the funeral has been canceled, as you know. I'm walking toward the intersection on Western Avenue. It's really amazing the way they prepare for these funeral services and all the trucks that come out. And I don't know if you can see down the road the ladders that are raised with the American flag as a gateway to this place, this sacred place of mourning. We have the hearse here in the Circle Drive of St. Rita. You can hear the siren of another truck that's going by. With this funeral now canceled, that just affects so many people who may have been traveling from out of state to come here. As you know, so many public servants from other places come to pay their respects. They know too well what loss is like, and so they've got to put those plans off as well. But St. Rita's all set for everything that might take place today. The visitation will take place from now until 8 o'clock tonight. A lot of the public coming out. We've met some of the childhood friends over the weekend who are from the Northwest side. And, he and his wife, his family, they lived on the south side in Mount Greenwood. So all of Chicago now trying to pay their respects to the Altman family. Anita, back to you.
And that really is just a wonderful thing. It's a traditional thing, and so we, as you mentioned, we have seen it. We have seen the gatherings there at this particular church several times, unfortunately, before. One of the things as you were kind of panning around, we're looking inside at the moment, but even outside, I see these little sparks of beauty. I saw all of the red ribbons tied out there.
Yes, this was something that his friends wanted to do to show the Altman family how much the city cares. As they are being escorted around, they'll see these red ribbons that were put up by a grateful public to show support for the family. I mean, it's a very lonely thing, grief, but this city is trying so hard to show them support and sadness too. So many people are sad. So yes, red ribbons on the trees that are out here, red ribbons on the trees and the baseball fields where they grew up as kids and played together. It's just a really, really sad day.
It really is. And again, the mix of emotions in losing one of your heroes in your family, but then also having a new baby on the way. I just cannot imagine what his wife is going through today. Joni, thank you so much. We know you have to get ready for your live shot in the 4 o'clock show.
Okay, Anita, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And as we continue to see these lines of people pouring in there again, this is until 8 p.m. that they're getting a viewing opportunity here for firefighter Altman. There are several fundraisers for his young, again, a baby coming today, young family. One of them is the Yard Foundation. On their site it says, in addition to being a dedicated firefighter, Mike was a loving husband, a father with a young child at home, another baby on the way. The road ahead will be long, difficult, and incredibly costly for his family. As they navigate this devastating loss, let's come together to support them, not only financially, but offer them love for as long as they need it. And right now, that fundraiser is at $604,000, $737.34 as people continue to just pour into this family that has lost so much right now. I can also let you know that Barstool, you typically think of Barstool Sports just for sports, but of course they have several philanthropic efforts that they participate in as well. And just as soon as they heard about this tragic loss of firefighter Altman, Barstool Sports began selling T-shirts, sweatshirts, and many other things honoring firefighter Altman. All of the proceeds go to the Altman family. So the last time we even checked on that was over $50,000 that they had raised for the family. So there are several different efforts happening right now, again, to honor firefighter Altman, this fourth generation Chicago firefighter who died fulfilling his dream. And not only fulfilling his dream, but again, saving the lives of so many others who were inside of that 4-story apartment building in Rogers Park last week. It is a moment where people from across the community, some who know each other, many who don't, have come to honor his life of service to this city and his family at such an emotionally challenging time of losing a father, losing a husband, and welcoming a new child. If you were not listening when I said that his wife went into labor today, that is the reason that his funeral has been canceled for tomorrow. So people are coming here for the visitation today, but there will be no funeral tomorrow. Just as soon as we get new information, though, again, if it has been rescheduled, we will let you know. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and we'll be back to close out the show. Welcome back here. Before we get to the 4 o'clock, they are going to be following up on the unfortunate end to a missing persons case here in our city. Also, the severe weather risk right now, and renewed conversations after a challenging night for Chicago police here in the Loop, especially dealing with youth who are right now on spring break. All of those things are coming up next at 4. I'm getting ready to go on vacation, everyone, so I won't be with you tomorrow. Tia will be here with you, but I hope to see you back here next week.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Right now, 4 comments after a deadly shooting bring fallout for a Chicago alder.
Airport security is shifting. Why the next line you wait in could look